Hey guys, welcome back to the cave. Got an electrical project today. I'm going to build a 4x4x4 LED matrix cube. Now, I'll show you step by step how to make it. I'm not going to show you how to code it, but I will have a link in the description so you can go download the code. Also, I'm going to have a wiring diagram that you can download as well, but I will be showing you exactly how to build the cube, the stuff you're going to need. So, let's get to it and let's have some fun. Howdy guys, welcome to the cave. I'm Mark and you're watching Blue Street Customs. Alright guys, so as I said, here's a rough draw, and that's more for me, of the schematic for this LED cube. Now, some of the stuff you're going to need, obviously, 64 LEDs. That's 4x4x4. You're going to need some perf board. You know, it can be double-sided, one-sided, whatever thickness you happen to have. I'll let you know the measurements here in a bit. You're going to need some 20 gauge wire. You need a bunch of it. There's two different sizes. Again, I'll let you know in a second. 3-volt coin cell battery. So you're also going to need some sort of sandpaper or something. I've got these nail files from the dollar store. They seem to be the perfect texture for your LEDs. But I did go through a bunch of different ones. I've tried 100 grit, was way too coarse. I ended up using 220. I tried 1,000, 2,000, way too high. And being an auto body guy, knowing the different grits of sandpaper, basically anything higher, 400 or higher, is not going to do very good. It's just not going to scuff the LED properly. Anything from like 220, 240, 320, 340 is going to be the optimal range for the grit of sandpaper you're going to want. Now, I also have a jig that I built for my last one, and spacing is 1 inch, which I believe is 2.5 centimeters, and that's what you're going to need to assist you in building the grids for these things here. So, getting into it a little further here, so what you want, color of your choice, LEDs, these are 5mm. I'm using white this time around. You're going to need 64 of them. You should test every one of them to make sure they're working. Something else you're going to need, of course, is a Arduino. Now, an Arduino UNO or Nano is going to be the ones that you're going to want. You probably could use the Mega or the Mini, but I have the UNO and Nano, and that's what the code is set up for, as well as the wiring diagram. Now, the pinout on some of the other ones are going to be probably a little different, so make sure to pay attention to the pins. Now, drill bit size for these things is 7/32, and if you happen to be using the 3mm LEDs, you're going to need a 1/8 inch bit. Now, the perf board should be 4 inch by 4 inch, so you're also going to need some 20 gauge wire, and you're going to cut 20 lengths of 4 inch. Okay. Now, you're also going to need, again, same gauge of wire, 20 gauge wire. You're going to need 24 at 3 1/4 inch. Okay, and we'll straighten those out in a little bit. Now, once you've got all your LEDs tested, you are going to want to sand them. Okay, once they're all sanded, to make them frosted. Now, you can go out and buy frosted LEDs. I didn't figure I needed to buy more LEDs when I've got over 2,000 of these white ones. I painstakingly frosted every one of them, and by doing so, all you're doing is sanding them. Now, once you've got them all sanded, you see clear there, and it's starting to get sanded. Doesn't take much to sand them. You're going to take yourself a set of pair of pliers. Okay, hopefully some needle nose, probably be the better ones. Now on here, I don't know if you can see that. Now you can see that there is one leg longer than the other. The longer one is your anode, that's your positive. The shorter one is your cathode, that'd be the shorter one. Now, your cathode, the shorter one, you're going to go bend it sideways, 90 degrees. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but kind of a dull flat spot right there. Okay. Now, most of these LEDs should have them. I'm going to grab them with the pliers right there. And again, I'm going to bend it 90 degrees back. So you'll end up with something like that. Okay. So you're going to do that for all of them. Again, you're going to take the short cathode, bend it 90 degrees sideways. You're going to grab your pliers at that little mark. They both have them. You're going to grab it there and bend it 90 degrees back again, so that you end up like that. So I'll give you a few minutes. You get your LEDs all scuffed, get them all bent, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys. So just a quick recap of what you're going to need. You're going to need 64 LEDs, color of your choice. You're going to take those LEDs and you're going to frost them if you want, or you can buy them frosted, or if you're choosing a colored one, you don't have to frost them at all. Now, frosting them, you're going to use some sort of sanding paper or sand stick, anywhere between 220, 340. Once you have them all sanded, you're going to bend the cathode 90 degrees, and then you're going to bend it back 90 degrees. So you have that. You're going to need a piece of perf board, either double-sided or single-sided. Mine is single. It has to be 4" by 4". You're going to need 20 gauge wire. This is for the structure and for the electrodes as well. You're going to need 20 4" long. You're going to need 24 3¼ long. You're going to need your template, your jig, whatever you want to call it, 1" spacing for your LEDs, 5mm LED, 7/32 drill bit. If you're using a 3mm LED, you need 1/8 drill bit. Coin cell, 3V for testing all your LEDs. Make sure they work before you build this, because it kind of sucks if you got to change one out. You're also going to need some sort of wires for connecting everything together and connect it to your Arduino. The Arduino, you can use either the Arduino UNO, which I have one here. The Arduino UNO. Now the pinout on this one and the pinout on the one I'm going to use, the Arduino NANO, are exactly the same. They do the same function. And of course, you need the corresponding cord that you're going to need to program with. Now, you're also going to need, if you don't have it, the Arduino IDE program, so you can write the code if you want to write it yourself. Or I'll have a link in the description where you can download the code for this project, along with the wiring diagram. So, from there, we shall get started. Something else you should also have that I didn't mention is a pair of side cutters. Now, some will have big side cutters, some will have small side cutters. You can also have the side cutters with the wire strippers, which you'll need also. Sorry for forgetting some of this stuff. It might be even handy to have a pair of tweezers so you can reach into certain areas. My little side cutters. So what you're going to do is you're going to start off taking your LED, your negative, you're going to put it towards the top, like so. You can see that here. See how I got it bent towards the top? Now obviously a 4x4 cube, you're going to take 4 of them, all in the same direction, like so. Now you're going to take one of your shorter wires, you're going to make sure it's straight, or as straight as possible. Now if you have a small little bench vise or something, You can clamp these in, grab the end of it with a pair of pliers, and give it a good yank, and it should straighten itself out pretty good. Something else you're going to need is you're going to need yourself a soldering iron. Solder and solder paste so that you can solder all this stuff together. So now that we've got the LEDs in there, your wire is straightened out, soldering iron is hot, you're going to take this and you're going to put it against the LEDs, against the positive legs, kind of like so. You're going to put it against the positive legs and you're going to solder them. Now once those are soldered, you can cut off the positive legs. Okay, so once you got 4 rows, as you can see, I've got them soldered in there. What you're going to want to do is take and cut off all your positive leads down at the wire. So that you're left with just the negatives sticking up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to take 2 more of these, straighten them out however you're straightening them. Good way is just to roll them under something, usually 2 solid surfaces. Double check that they're straight. So I need 2 of these. Sometimes they don't like to roll. And there we go. So now we got 2. What you're going to do with these 2 is you're going to put them in like so. Okay. Try to make them centered. I try to make everything as nice and neat as possible. Now that you know where they're gonna go, just take a little bit of flux. Use a toothpick or brush, whatever. Just kind of coat that spot. Put a little bit on each one where the wires are going to contact. Then you're going to take your wire, like that. And of course, solder them down. Okay, so once you've got those soldered in, you come along with your cutters, cut these ones flush, like so. Now, if you haven't yet, also, when you wire in, put your wire on for the LEDs, cut off your excess at the ends. So then you can take these and carefully pull them out. One grid. Now you can take some rubbing alcohol after and clean this all up. As you can see, it kind of gets a little dirty from the soldering paste. So you can clean those up after. Now, you need to make 3 more of these. So I'll give you a few minutes. Pause the video if you need to. I'm going to make 3 more and I'll be back. Okay guys, now that you've got everything all built, this is what you should have. Now that you've got everything built up, you should double check, make sure these things work. Now to do that, if you've got an adjustable power supply, set it to about 2.7 volts, 20 milliamps. Okay? You don't want to blow these LEDs up and then end up having to change them. Now, I don't have an adjustable power supply. Mine's homemade. The lowest setting I got is 3.3 volts. So I stuck on a 220 ohm resistor. So what you're going to do is you're going to touch any part of these steel rails with your power, and all the legs that are sticking up are your negatives. So go along, check every one of them. Okay, once you've done that, we can move on to the next step. So the next step, what we're going to do, I just find it easier to do it this way. So I'm going to put this back in here. Like so. It's all sitting down nice and tight. Then you're going to take your 4-inch 20 gauge wires, and you're going to end up soldering them on to your legs. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these down just to keep it a little neater. You don't have to. I'm going to cut mine down. So I've got about a 1/4 inch sticking up. See if we can show you that here. So as long as you got about a 1/4 inch sticking up compared to the other one, make them all like that if you want. If not, you can leave them long. It's up to you. So you can leave them long this way, or you can cut them down short. So I'm going to cut all of mine down short just to keep it neater. Now, also, what you're going to want to do to keep your spacing properly so that your spacing here between LEDs is the same this way, right? Because you want it, to be an inch apart all the way around. So each one will be a certain distance apart. So what I do is I take four of these wires, and I'll take a permanent marker, and I'll mark an inch on each one. So that's what you'll have. You mark it 4-inch or 1-inch increments. You'll do that on 4 of them. So when you solder this on, you'll know exactly where to put your next level. You have it facing the right way. So your next level will be at the next line. So on and so on. So mark out 4 of these, and we'll get to soldering these on. Alright guys, now that you've got these all trimmed down and you've got all your wires straightened out, like I said, if you measure these out, make them an inch interval from the ends, you'll be able to place your next rows very easily. So I'm going to start by putting these on first. Like I said, these ones here are going to go in your corners. This is just to help you make things a little easier. So you're going to take it and you're going to put it right on the end of the corner against your wire, and that's where you're going to solder it. Okay, so that's what you're going to end up with. Now that you have your lines here, when you go to put these ones on, at those lines, so you're going to take where it bends at the 90, and that's going to be right on that line. So, but first, we're going to put the rest of them on. So I'm going to get the rest of these on. I'll be back to show you. Okay, so now that you've got 2 rows on, you've soldered right at your 1-inch mark on all 4 corners. Go ahead and solder all your wires. And it does get a little difficult trying to solder in there, but work with it, take your time, you'll get it. I know you will. Once you've got your first row soldered, it never hurts to double check everything. Make sure it all works. Now, positive with your 220 ohm resistor. Put it on positive rail with your first layer. And again, these are all now your negatives for each light. So, as you can see, all the lights are working on your first layer. Now to test your second layer, put your positive on your second layer. Once you've tested them, and you should test each row just to make sure, you can go ahead and start your second one or third one, depending on how you look at it. So once again, put this down there, and you're going to line up the corner of your LED, your upright, on your 1-inch mark. So go ahead and do all of that. When I'm done mine, I'll be back and I'll show you. Okay, once you've got them all soldered together, you should have something that looks like this. Now see, if you take your time, everything lines up really nice. Your spacing is nice, and even your crossbars up top. If you look at them, they pretty much line up almost perfectly. Mine are a little out, but not too bad. So you're all, at this point, you're going to determine which is your nicest side, which side you want to view it from, so that we can make a back and a front. Now, when it comes to putting it together, whatever you just determine as you're going to be your front is where these other wires will come in. Okay, Because once you determine where your back is, you don't want these wires making the front side look ugly. Because these are going to determine, or these here are going to be your leads for your positive. So you're going to end up bending a 90 in this. It's going to attach to one grid and go down through, right? And then your next rod will connect to the next row. So you have your first one that's going to connect here to the top row and go down. Your next wire will be a little shorter, but it'll connect to your next row down and go through. Your next wire will be from your next row down, and then your next wire will be from your bottom row down. And these will be what you'll connect to positive wires from the Arduino so that it can power up whichever row it needs. Negatives will power up or activate the column. And double check everything, because I just realized I missed one. So I'll have to go back and solder that, but make sure everything works. Now, at the same time, if you've been doing it, make sure you check each row and column, showing you doing it the way I showed you to make sure all your lights work. I've already done that. Next thing we're going to do, put it on here. I'll show you that when I come back. Hey guys, so far we've got the cube built. In the next video, what I'm going to do is install it on the perf board, and we'll start the wiring. Then I'll show you the program that you can download for your Arduino. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification button so that you can get notified for the second half of this video and other videos that I'm going to post. Check me out on Instagram at Blue Street Customs. Also come check me out on Facebook. So until then, later.